Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a scene for the living world of darkness, Changeling, the dreaming venue. This scene has the camera panning in late evening on Kararis as he is just finishing his hours for the day, and they were tough. And you are fumbling through your phone, opening up your food delivery service and kind of going through the list of seeing what's been checked off, what hasn't, what you've ordered for, what sounds good, and your phone rings, and it is a number that you do not recognize. It is not saved in your contacts.
Okay. Well, I will. Well, the rude thing would be not to answer it, so I'll open it. Charles Agar speaking.
Yes, Mr. Charles. This is Ying Pao. We met at the bar the other day. I was wondering if you had some time.
Yes, I just got off work and I was actually thinking of getting dinner. Actually, what?
How fortuitous! I would be most honored if you were to join me for dinner. And he gives you the name of a restaurant that you have never heard of, and he gives you the address, and it's in Chinatown, and you have been told by your knight and your baron that you should probably stay out of there unless you're going there on business.
Well, I am going on business, so and I was invited, so I go.
But it is a little unnerving to be invited there when most other people are told to stay the hell out.
I would be most honored to be, and I am most honored to be invited to your table. When should I arrive?
Excellent. And you hear some mumbling off in the background. Can you make it here in about an hour?
An hour? I think a taxi cab would get me there in half. So I'll just wait around, and I'll be there in an hour.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing you.
I am sure the pleasure's all mine, all yours. Good night.
Okay.
And so I at least brush off my suit, realize I'm at least still wearing one of the gloves, and I wash up and at least freshen up a little bit before calling a taxi and getting on down there.
And as you travel through Manhattan and you head towards the southern part, and the dreaming in the area, the chimeric reality rather, shifts a little bit from kind of the steels and grays of big city life and various creatures lurking in every shadows, and potential muggers, modern nightmares. And as you approach Chinatown, it changes to a little bit more noble, a little bit more regal. There's red and gold and orange. There's a vibrancy here that you're not quite used to seeing in the city.
And it's all the more beautiful and painful to see such vividness, brightness of how much it reminds me of home. So, as my thoughts are trailing off to memories of seeing the vibrancy and colors of Chinatown.
And as you actually enter
go ahead.
Chinatown proper, it moves in an almost a rhythmic order. This whole area is kind of rich and vibrant, very I'd say glamorous, but it's like that, but not.
Mm.
There's a livelihood here, a brightness that you aren't quite used to.
Yeah, there's something more than just glamour here. There's something, I would say, chimerical, but even then it's just alive in a different way. So in some respects, I'm actually looking out at this at awe and just seeing like this, for lack of a better term, like almost like a paradise in the middle of this banal reality, and that it was here this whole time. This sort of like jewel in the middle of the muck.
And there are creatures here like you've not seen before. There are small wisps and shadows. There are sleeping monsters. There are ancient stone guardians. There's a magnificence here, and your nose catches it first, and you start smelling food. And you've been lost kind of in this daze and just enjoying the magnificence of this bastion of livelihood and color. And you hear your taxi driver pounds on the glass. Tack, tack. Hey, we're at your stop.
Ah, yes, thank you. And
All right.
I get out and I
Go down that alley.
Mm.
And it's on the right.
very well. And I pay him appropriately
Mm-hmm.
and
And
turn to look down the alleyway.
as you turn to look down the alleyway, there is that dark, gray, steely, mundane, chimeric presence. This is a city. There are rules, there are regulations, and there are things here that are beyond your grasp, but it is not as bright as the rest of driving through Chinatown. You look at your watch and you are almost, your trip took you a lot longer than you were expecting. It is more like you have 5 or 6 minutes till get till dinner, as opposed to the 30 that you were expecting.
Well, good thing I was. Well, I was never that good with how time works around here anyway. So, better get to it then. Better to be at least a few minutes early. So, steeling myself for after basking for like maybe just a moment longer in that beautiful colors and sensation, trying to hold on to it for just a moment more, I brace myself for the knives of the gray and the steel and that gritty reality that is cities, and step into the alleyway.
As you step in the alleyway, there's trash cans, cat, and you go down, and there's the stairwell that descends into the ground, and on either side of the door are two, well, what you would call fairly average-sized men, except one is very obviously more snake than man, and the other is very, very obviously more monkey than man. They remind you of more feral puka but there's something different and a little off about them.
Well, they're on the right? The stairwell's going down around the right.
Yep, and
Yep.
that's where you were told to go.
Yep. So I put on my best smile, and I walk down to them. I don't push past them or anything. There's protocol here, because obviously if they're guarding this place, they'll be the ones to be letting me in. So I stop. Yep.
As you approach them, they both tilt their head to the side, and you can feel them not just looking at you, but almost through you. Like your training, they are a little confused. You recognize that this is
and so I'll get there, and remembering how Misha and June had reacted when Yen first entered the place, I get to the appropriate distance and I bow to them. Good evening. I have been invited by Yang Pao.
They blink. They look at each other. They look back at you.
I smile.
They lean in towards each other and whisper in a foreign language you recognize as Cantonese, and they whisper. They look at you. They whisper. There looks to be some finger pointing that goes on between the two of them. The snake-like one just shrugs. If you're invited, we cannot say no. And he opens the door for you, and it's another assault on your senses of, again, reds and golds, some purples and oranges, vibrant colors, and your nose is just overwhelmed with spices and scents of food of you can't quite make out.
What exactly it is, but whatever it is, it smells more beautiful and delicious than anything I've had since coming here.
It reminds you, in just that fleetingest of moments, it reminds you of home.
It's everything I can at that moment to keep my manners as they open the door, as I bow to them again. And bow to them in thanks and walk on through. And I'm keeping myself measured in steps, but every moment being in here, it's like I almost can't stop my hands from shaking, not out of fear or anything, but just sort of like, well, almost like jonesing for the fact that I'm finally, it's like I'm so close to home as far as things. I didn't realize how much I missed it.
And you walk in, and there's a young Chinese woman. Mr. Egar.
Mr. Agar, yes.
Yes. Excellent. We've been waiting for you. Please follow me. And she takes you. And almost you don't get to consent to this kind of tone.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm in their house, so I'm following those rules.
Exactly. And she takes you to a room with it's very obviously a dining room for a restaurant, and in the back corner of the room is that same man on fire in his lovely tailored suit. And he stands up, and that grin dances across that flame embodied face. And he walks up and
Mm.
he extends his right hand.
Mm. I smile back, and I do it both a shake of the hand and a sort of a bow to him at the same time.
He does the same.
Yep.
So glad you could make it. Please, we have much to discuss if you would. And he goes straight from shaking your hand to pulling you slightly forward and putting his hand on your back.
Mm. Yep, I got that there, and it's like a short as it's that moment, and I clasp a shoulder as well, and I clasp his shoulder as well, and it's like a mutual sort of like, yeah, we're in this. It's like, and I must say thank you so much for bringing me to this place. It smells so wonderful here.
And it has only just begun. And he will sit down. He will sit you down. He'll pull out the chair, sit you down proper, and he will pour you a small cup of tea. Just traditional green gunpowder tea. It's intense if you've never had it.
Me in person, I've had it. I don't know about Carraris.
And he will pour you a cup, place it in front of you, and then he will pour himself one. And he, as opposed to sitting across from you, he will sit next to you.
Interesting. All right.
And in the back of your brain, there you get this. Something's afoot. Something is not right. Just kind of whispering in the gears back there.
Yeah, something isn't right.
You don't know if that's you thinking that, or maybe that was Mr. Agar sleeping somewhere who is concerned. But it fleets away.
Yeah. Regardless, as much as it's wonderful and everything like that, in my mind, I know everything's a careful dance. It's all part of the game here. So I smile as he's sitting next to me. The etiquette seems a bit strange because normally it would be we're facing next to each other. And I know I have to play this very carefully because I don't entirely know all their customs. Yep. So I sort of give a slight. I sort of decide to play humble, so to speak, and I go, "Oh, once again, I want to thank you for inviting me. I do wish to apologize in advance if I stumble in the customs of your ways."
That is fine. That is fine. I don't expect you to understand the full nuance, and to hold you to that would be rude.
But
this is a friendly meeting. This is between two wonderful bureaucrats. And with that, he will lift his glass, his small cup of tea, and
I will present mine.
He presents it to you, and then he will take his drink, and if Carraris has had it before, it is as if it has been emboldened, as if it was bold, italicized, and underlined. This is, in essence, what gunpowder tea should be.
The purity of it, the actual purity of the words of it. I drink it, and it's like it almost blows me away. Just like almost like it was a gun to the head, so to speak, just out of it. I don't dare spit it out or anything like that from the shock of it. I drink it down. But I am just in like absolute, like I almost like stare out into space for like maybe 10 seconds too long because of just how blown away I am right now. I didn't think tea here could ever taste that good.
That is but where we start.
And you have quite an incredible journey that you have laid before me. I don't know how I can even begin to thank you, but I'm sure that'll come up later. I just smile.
You mentioned that, and that's when the first aroma hits you, and it is there's meat, there is sweet, there is dough, there is salt, and there are a number of baskets put in front of you and Mr. Powell. Traditional steamers, and they all are marked. And he will walk you through kind of like what each one is. You've got, a sour meat bun, sweet bean, savory bean. And all of them are perfect.
I take each one at a time and eat them along this journey, and every moment of caution is like subsequently like blown away from the food and stuff. It's just I'm so God, I never realized how hungry I actually was. Everything here has tasted so pale, so shallow, so bland. Here, everything just blows me away, and I'm feeling myself just like filling up for the first time since I've gotten here in this body. But every so often, that tingling sensation as the journey continues. Be on your game. Be on your game. They're trying to soften you up.
So we don't see many of your... Kind of looks you up and down. Your kind around here.
As I was explained to me when I first got here, the only time we were not allowed to, well, we were advised not to enter your realm unless invited.
That is correct. These are the sovereign imperial lands of the local dynasty. But I was referring to you. You are... how do I put this? What is your function? And he will take a bite of some food, and he will fill your glass of tea.
Oh, I assume you mean what is my purpose as far as my essence is concerned?
Yes.
What we call ourselves is of the Sheed, is of the nobility, the rulers of our kind. Those that are to be the true leaders, whether not necessarily always kings or emperors, but as guardians and knights.
So, tell me, we don't get to interact much, and normally when we go out in public or outside of our lands, most seem to stay away from us, either out of fear or respect. And yet you, and I assume your secretary?
Yes. I assume you mean the
one with the big eyes.
Yes. Yes, it was I will admit it was mostly her cues I was following when in your first entrance. I must admit I've never met any of your kind, and so I have questions of my own, but I'll get to them in due process. But she, well, she's not a secretary, at least not mine, but of an associate's.
All right.
Mm.
So she wasn't there to serve as the initial point of contact for our introduction. Strange.
Well, I figured it was best that the ones who know the customs, and of course, be one of the best to go forward.
I understand that.
Mm. So, if I may be bold as to ask, as herself and one of the others there seem to put a very great amount of reverence to you, what exactly is your function then?
I am a chief minister of prayer.
Chief Minister of Prayer. They did say that you were. They did reference you as being divine, so that isn't too far from the truth then, yes?
We are born of prayer, and we serve as agents of heaven. There are greater agents and lesser agents. There are the wild and the refined.
I see. Interesting. So, in some ways, I will say, coming here, and that I have, there have been definitely some similarities I feel between us, but at the same time, very large differences. I'm not sure if you call it glamour or not, or what your word for it is, but that vibrancy, that colors, that everything so makes everything so much more vibrant, so much more real. There's part of that, but there's something else underlying it that I must say I've never quite experienced, and I think that explains a little bit with what you were saying about the heavens above.
Indeed, we are multifaceted creatures.
Hmm.
We serve as agents. I myself serve as an agent of emotion and passion. I practice several forms of alchemy that allow me to distill, create, and manipulate certain passions. There are others who are who carry on different ordeals, and it is not my place to speak of them yet.
Of course not. After all, it is business between two friends.
Indeed. So tell me of this glamour.
Glamour.
I've heard it mentioned a few times while out drinking, and there was a big boastful blue man and a small kind of pudgy gray and slick individual with an impressive teeth. You will recognize that he's immediately talking about a troll in a red cap.
Yeah. Oh, and I go. Did the I go. The blue individual had horns and stood over almost 7 feet tall. Yes.
About that, yes.
Yes, yes. And the shorter one, the teeth a lot sharper than mine.
Yes.
Ah, yes. The giant blue one is what is known as a troll. Contrary to popular belief in this world, it seems trolls are actually quite noble creatures. Actually, you can find that you can trust them almost, not quite, but almost to a fault to be honorable to their word.
Interesting. And the other one?
The other one, and there's the smile I give is sort of one of like, it's a smile, but it's sort of like it's being polite. It's polite disdain. The other one is what is known as a red cap. Red caps are, well, let's just say those teeth aren't for show, and that as much as you've seen me eating these days, they would literally start eating the table.
Most interesting. That's very curious. And what purpose do they serve? I'm sure you noticed the two men outside. The one, much like who looks like a serpent. He is a Fushi. He is. They are questioners. I imagine when you walked up, he was the first one to lean in and start asking the other one, the Hanuman, the one who looks like a monkey.
Yes, that would be completely correct. And I'm like mentally taking these words and the words how he's saying them and everything, and trying to understand not only the words themselves, but like the meaning, the power, and that's the most important bit, like the power of what those words mean and all they entail, what makes them bind together and what makes them unravel. But it's just so much harder here. It's so much harder, especially with how much I've lost. But I still try to hold on to him.
So, tell me more of this glamour.
Yes. Yes. Glamour is well, as a master of prayers, I'm sure you understand that prayers give power. Yes?
Of course.
Yes. Prayers are very powerful things, and prayers are not too dissimilar to dreams. Dreams are prayers perhaps unrealized, prayers perhaps unrefined, prayers of whimsy and fantasy, and sometimes prayers of darker things.
Of course.
Glamour is, in an essence, that purity of that dream stuff. All those prayers mingling and coalescing together in eddies and flows, creating order in some places, chaos in others. And glamour is the more refined bits that give fuel, give essence to us.
Curious. Very curious. And as he says that, the staff comes in and changes out the teapots, takes out the steamers, and brings out several plates with some sort of meat you are not able to identify by smell or cut or color. You're pretty sure that was chicken at one point, or that was some either beef, maybe pork at one point. You aren't sure, but
it's delicious, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, it has been turned to 11.
Yep. And I'm doing everything I can to maintain my manners as I'm going through this, because it's just like a starving man having been given pretty much like a feast laid before him. It's like it's so overwhelming. But manners. Those are so ingrained in me and my essence and being that I can't help but maintain propriety with it. So I am curious in turn then, if you've met others like the troll and the red cap that you mentioned before, what's taken it? Well, why me in particular? Why interview myself as opposed to any of the others?
You were the first to introduce yourself with a modicum of respect.
Are you saying the secretary, as I give a smile here and thinking of how lovely that is, that now I have a new term to use for Misha? Are you saying that she did not give enough? I don't mean any offense. I'm just curious.
It is not the amount that is given, it is the quality.
Oh. I see. Because I went out, I see, and I'm thinking in my head, because I went out of my way to speak to him in a tongue of flame. So, but, yes. the way things are given are often more important.
Indeed, indeed. And what you are probably describing in the area is yang energy, vibrancy, life, motion.
Dynamicism,
Yes.
change, growth.
Similar, but not to what you call glamour. The dragon's nest here will occasionally shift to darker times and produce yin energy at different times of the year, but that is, again, that will be a conversation for later.
Of course.
But there is akin to, that is probably what you are experiencing, and he will fill your tea.
And drink. If there's ever I mean, actually, I'm not sure if it's actually appropriate to pour for him, but I mean, he's hosting, so. Because it seems, I mean, in some respects, it's part of me is like feeling like it should, but I don't know. But anyway, well, if it is a conversation for another day, then it'll be a conversation for another day.
Excellent. Please eat. You said you were hungry, and it has been a long day, and I myself have had a very, very long and tiring day, and he will grab a little bit of this and a little bit of that. No particular order.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then I do pretty much the same. Whatever catches my fancy first or happens to be in reach first is what I go for as well. Yes. I will say, this may, if I can admit something, this may be stranger to you, but this is like this is probably one of the most fulfilling meals I've had since coming here.
What do you mean coming here?
Oh. When you mention heaven and the other kingdoms, and as you mentioned before, are they of this place? As I sort of like try to reference like the gray, the mortal world, where out there in the city where it's more gray and dull rather than the vibrancy of here.
No, it is different.
All right. Then, and that is very much the same with myself. My kind, along with generally some of the O's of like the trolls and the red caps, as I mentioned before, come from another place. We come from that realm, as I mentioned, how glamour is pretty much as you know, I mentioned how glamour shapes and infuses fuel and stuff. Well, even more so is it creates its own sort of reality, an entire world of worlds out there.
He will nod.
We call it the dreaming, and there are places that are nearer to this place, and there are places that are farther away. The more abstract are farther out. I came from there.
He will nod.
But as with most of my kind, things have happened that have caused us to be forced out, whether of our own will or not, and have to come here.
He nods.
So, I myself was, I made the only choice I could, and thus came here.
So you were forced out of your heaven.
That is correct.
Curious. Very, very curious. You said only some of the others.
Some have been here a lot longer than I. Some of us have just. There was a long time ago, and I sort of question. to be honest, out in the dreaming, time is a very fickle thing.
Mm.
What seems like a day could be almost 100, could stretch into 1,000 years, and 1,000 years could be again captured into a single moment. So it's hard to say. Time here is far more linear and a little more confusing sometimes.
I see.
But if I had to say somewhere of what European Middle Ages, what we call the dreaming and this place were far more closer. But then there was a split. Something caused it in which the dreaming was starting to pull away. It was a choice to make. Some chose to remain. Some were forced to remain. And whether rivalry or politics, a very confusing time, to say the least. But those that were chose or were forced to stay found themselves stuck here, unable to truly rejoin the dreaming, while those that remained in the dreaming found themselves really unable to come here.
I see.
And those that remained found ways to exist, unable to, granted the immortality of heaven. They decided to take on the process of incarnation.
I see. I see. And he eats, but he is paying attention very intensely.
Mm. There are those of us who have found ourselves here by choice or not, by recent times have found that there are rifts opening in heaven, or in the dreaming, I should say, in which we are either being forced through or making the conscious effort to come here.
I see.
Unfortunately, I don't know if we have the same blessings as those that have been here for longer.
Mm. I see.
And what of your people? Was it similar as well? You mentioned that you referred to my exile as me being cast out of heaven. I don't wish to ask if that was the same for you and your people, or if there's another story behind that.
Eventually, it is all part of the grand divine design. Each of us has or had a purpose, and then humanity does what humanity does, and it separates, and it drifts, and it changes, and eventually, much like your dreaming, heaven grew farther away from Earth.
Sort of nodding at this.
But the wheel always turns, and as heaven drifts farther away, the prayers were not answered, and there are a number of us that are left to answer the appropriate prayers. And it is part of this design, this grand agency that we function.
So in some ways, what the secretary said was correct. In some ways, you are gods, at least to the mortals.
Yes?
It doesn't sound like it's interesting. How you tell me with the drift and everything, it seems there are actually, despite some obvious differences, there are actually quite a number of similarities between us. Humanity is what dictates what the dreaming is as well, and in such drifting apart. How sad that our worlds are at their whim, and how beautiful at the same time.
It is quite curious. Are you a fairly... You use the term nobility. Are you... Where do you sit on the noble structure, the nobility structure? You mentioned ancient Europe, and I studied some of it.
Where I fall now is in the realm of squire. So I serve a knight, who serves a baroness.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And yourself? I must say I may be a little ignorant of anything outside the Eastern Europeans, but I would like an explanation.
I suppose you could liken my position to too much like a feudal knight. I have those below me, I have those above me. I have a territory at which I watch over, and I manage the selection of prayers.
I see. Makes sense. Oh, so that I may address your title properly, how do I call you?
Use sir for now.
Sorry, you broke up a bit.
Use sir for now.
Sir. Very well, then I will call you sir.
When you learn my language, I will bless you with knowing my full name.
I sort of nod at that, and I sort of smile, as I now have a new mission to learn this language, and it is yes.
You broke up. You broke up. Couldn't hear you.
And it is Cantonese, yes.
Yes.
Before I go on such a quest and endeavor, although I've discovered there's many wonderful languages out there.
Yeah, tens of thousands.
All with their own unique words and own unique meanings and definitions and ways that they connect and fall apart.
As you kind of mentally kind of wander through this field, the plates that you guys have picked on have been cleared, and then there's another round of plates of, again, various dishes. This one has some greens, there's a soup, there's enough for a bite of this and a bite of that, and you are legitimately pretty sure that one of those is just blood and lemongrass.
Blood and lemongrass.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're on to some fun times now. So, it'd be rude to question the host, though. But but I noticed that, and I'm like, I sort of smile, and I go right for it.
Okay. And it's exactly that. It's
Yep, blood and lemongrass.
a little bit of mintiness to it. It's there's some sour acid, but it's exactly that. Is 95% blood and lemongrass served body temperature.
Wonderful. I'm
And you,
I don't refuse anything. But
it,
I'm getting a but there's like a sight that danger sense is tingling in the back of my head. That there's like this might have been a person I'm eating now. So maybe it's just blood. Who's hey, maybe it's a threat of what I do if I don't be polite. So but I just keep cool and I keep smiling and I keep
yeah.
eating along and I don't question it.
And all of it is at that same bold, italicized, underlined 14-point font, flashing levels
Mhm.
of intensity. And he is again eating, and
Mhm.
he, for him, to him, this seems like a normal meal.
Mhm.
For you, there are things here you have never experienced or ever even thought.
Mhm. I'm pretty much drowning in just like in practical bliss here. This is far and beyond anything I ever thought well I even thought ever possible as far as like what of decadence. And even then I say decadence, but everything is just so simple. Everything is so simple, and even in the order and everything like that, despite the order, there's just a simplicity to it. And there's, as I said, there's no particular order into it. There's none of these like grab your dining your salad fork or anything along those lines and going in or outwards. No, there's none of that here. But at the same time, the simplicity just explodes, and it explodes not just in this reality, but the dreaming and something else beyond.
Hmm.
And I'm just like so blissed out. Like I almost can't talk right now. I'm just so I'm just so he's just so in it at the moment.
Yeah, and a few minutes goes on, and he speaks again. Well, I have greatly enjoyed our conversation. I would love to get to know more of the people more like you. I am I'm curious about how your society functions and how who you are and where you kind of fit in the grand design. And
I'm sure.
much like yourself, we only have our small area of which we influence, and our little section of town where we answer the prayers. But and again, like you, we do not leave unless on business. And I hope we can come to a business arrangement.
I'm certain we can. What you have given me this evening, and your the food you have given me this evening, I could come up with songs. I could come up with poems. I could come up with grand speeches of what you've given me this night. If only I could I could remember the correct words to really capture the essence of everything you've presented to me. I will one day. I will remember those words again one day, and I will present them to you as my thanks.
Until then, why don't you just treat me to a dinner?
I'm afraid my dinners would pale in absolute comparison to yours, but I will open my home and my hospitality to you.
This is what I have known. This is what I have grown up eating. This is what I am used to. You have foods and cultures and experiences that I haven't yet got the chance to dine upon.
Sort of lean over. Have you ever had pizza?
Just recently, yes.
What did you think?
A little greasy and heavy.
And I would agree on those parts as well. And at the same time, small specks of spice that will just explode depending on the one. Where did you have yours?
He lists a restaurant, a pizza place in Queens.
I haven't been there. Tell you what, I'll think up something. Have you ever had French cuisine?
I have not.
Then, how about we set a date then? For our next meeting, I will take you out.
Excellent. We can share more stories.
I look forward to our future conversations. Thank you.
No, thank you. Trust me, the pleasure is all mine.
I smile, knowing exactly that as I said when our first conversation, the pleasure was indeed all his. But at the same time, I'm finding this world, this conversation, these people, these new words and strangeness so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how they work. I want to see how their words build up their society and how they tear them apart. But I smile and I bow and I shake his hand and allow myself to be guided home if it's the proper course.
And when you stand, he stands. He shakes your hand. He walks you out, and there's the audible sound of a jaw hitting a floor from one of the two people behind you. You know it would be rude to look back, but you know it's one of the two of them. One of the two guardsmen lost a bet.
Yeah. That I was going to be dead. Or not be coming back out.
And he walks you towards the street. Well, this is as far as I go for the moment, but you are safe in Chinatown till you make your exit. And then when you which I suggest you hurry on.
I will not waste any of the time you have given me. Thank you.
We do not want to be in violation of any treaties or accords.
Of course not. Sir Yang, Sir Pao, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agar. And he smiles and he bows very deeply.
And I smile back with diamond teeth and bow as well.
As you turn around, you notice there's a taxi there. How fortuitous.
Perfect timing.
Indeed.
I'm almost blissed out. Maybe later, once I'm out of the city and once this whatever glamour-fueled whatever of a feast that I have finally starts to die down, maybe I'll look back in that and I'll think, oh, that was odd. That was a bit too fortuitous. And maybe a few other things will come back a little bit more. Like, did I really just eat, like, body temperature blood out of a bowl with lemongrass? Surprisingly delicious.
And yes, you did.
Yeah.
And it will be one of those, did that just happen?
Yep.
Yep. Do me a favor. Roll me your intelligence and your psychology.
I will. Let me go to the default roller.
And your specialty will apply.
Okay. No, I don't think I have a specialty in psychology. I only have 3. 3 in psychology. It's the criminal psychology is an investigation.
No. So no, that won't.
3.
Just
let me get my intelligence. Sorry. Okay, so I'm rolling 6 dice. Give me a moment. R 60 10 hashtag int plus psi. If it's a difficulty 6, then 1 success.
You think you may be had.
Yes, I slipped up something. Something slipped at me up. I'm looking forward to our future conversations. I'm going to figure out exactly where you had me. I'm going to figure out how to. And I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm going to tear you apart for doing that. But I smile. At least I got a good meal out of it.
That was tasty food.
We'll see how next our meeting goes.
And do me a favor. Roll me your... I need the specific mechanics. There. Is it there? I think it's there. What is your musing threshold?
My musing threshold? It's
Where is it?
Inspiring confidence.
Okay. Roll me. I want for this to be attribute possibility. Perception investigation. Specialty does not apply.
That's fine.
This is a rapture roll.
Ooh.
Your musing threshold does not apply.
It's fine. 7d10.
And the difficulty for this is 6. Or I'm sorry. Characters. I'm going to go down to 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. Difficulty 5, perception plus investigation.
Yes.
7d10, rolling. 2 successes.
You regain 2 glamour.
Well, I'm back to the top.
Oh.
All right. Well, holy shit. So, whew.
And with that, we will end our scene.